The industry and the sport doesn't really look too far beyond its own borders, and therefore with the sort of focus of education on mainly at that time the engineering disciplines, the idea was that we should introduce a business orientated master's program which would do several things at once. First of all, it would allow people who are within the industry already to focus a little bit wider on rather than their core experience and knowledge, but to look wider at how, for example, the sport itself is structured, how sponsorship models work, how governance works in the sort of widest sense, things like change management, all the sort of normal business functions that perhaps in the wider world of business are a little bit more mainstream. In effect, it's the equivalent of an MBA, and it's focused on the sports industry, but it's very much focused more on the motorsport industry. And so the idea was that people can learn about the industry, they can enhance their existing knowledge and experience, but they can study, crucially, online and maintain their jobs. Yeah. So that's why we've introduced a number of programs, part-time and full-time. The full-time course is designed to be accomplished within 12 months, approximately, with some flexibility. The part-time one is around 2 years. So in all of this, there's a huge amount of flexibility, and we have a rolling program, so in effect you can start at pretty much any time.
And that online element, the fact that people can get a master's whilst working or do the certificate level, that really helps that talent pipeline, I guess, because people aren't having to have the financial commitment of giving up 3 years of their life.
Very much so, yeah. I mean, we started this program actually about 4 years ago through Leicester de Montfort University, and in the first year we had this a kickstart sort of approach, but the good thing was that all the students that enrolled at that time, all of them within that 12 months found a role within motorsport. So that was a big conversion rate, and I think doing the research originally with our motorsport contacts showed that actually there's a great demand for this thing. It's almost like a lot of industries, they don't know what they don't know, and therefore the opportunity was there to develop an MBA focusing on motorsport. It's the first of its kind, and it's online, which means that in effect you can start any time. It's appealing, which is great in the start of this third year. It's appealing to people around the world. We've got students from America, we've got students from the Middle East, India, Mexico, quite a few countries in Europe, including obviously the UK predominantly, and Australia. So it's proven already that there is a need, both from individuals and I think from employers, crucially.
So a brilliant master's course with certificates level as well, and can be done part-time and online.
Yeah.
If we turn to JP, student motorsport is not a degree as such, but you're offering brilliant experiences to people studying in other topics with a motorsport angle. So perhaps an overview on how that works.
I suppose it's a little bit, like you said, it's a widening of the gaze of what motorsport is. So the Student Motorsport Challenge is about taking existing students that are already on college or degree courses, and what we're seeing now is A-level courses, to participate in motorsport and gain real-life work experience whilst they're studying, so they're improving their work readiness before they graduate. And that's something that we were keen to instill right from the start. It's about being prepared for work.
And last year you won an award from the British Racing and Sports Car Club.
We did. We did.
Student Motorsport did. But you actually run a racing championship under the Student Motorsport banner.
Yes.
So what kind of experience does that give to students, and how can universities and colleges participate in that?
Well, again, it's about widening the gaze. I'll talk about that quite a lot, and it's about talent pipelines, and it's about work readiness. Now, when you go to college or university and study motorsport, often is the case is that it's an engineering-based subject. Yeah, the championship itself is about teaching students about not just building a racing car, but it's about the business of motorsport, which lends itself well to the degree that you're on. It's about teaching students that how do you run a racing team? How do you run a racing team? How do you get a car to a racing circuit? How do you manage and monitor what a driver does? How is the car repaired? Who supplies the parts? How is it financed? How does it function? As I said, when you're studying at college or university, you're learning about engineering, manufacturing, but we really need to expand beyond that, because when you work in motorsport, you need to hit the ground running, and it's not just about how to prepare a car. So we have to expand beyond that, and we do indeed run a racing championship that sits inside the City Car Cup. Colleges they transfer their skills into going racing on the circuit.
Yeah, because I guess you talk about that teamwork and collaboration. When we see a car on a Formula One grid, they've got a water leak 5 minutes before the start. The kind of teamwork, the communication, the collaboration that you see is amazing, and that's a skill. There's skills that can translate into the real business world. So I guess running in a racing championship, we still have those same problems, those same issues, and it's a great life skill. Yeah,
they do indeed. So we talk about life skills, but what the challenge does for people is teaches them about the value of business, the value of money, the inherent dangers in motor racing, how you mitigate those things, and how you act professionally. How you communicate within a team, how you communicate to the market, how you deal with sponsors. It's about bringing that all together so that a student has an experience of a whole range of things that really set them up for the motorsport industry. And whilst there's lots of good things going in the colleges and universities, tutors, when I used to teach myself, we don't have a lot of time to teach about the breadth of the industry. So we really need to get the students out into the industry so that they can gain that extra knowledge, and that's what the challenge provides. Yeah.
So it's a question really to both of you. What's the industry telling you that they want from the educational sector? I'll ask Andrew that first.
Well, we did quite a lot of research, say 3 or 4 years ago, before jumping into this master's program. But it was very clear from the industry that they were looking for help in terms of fast tracking the existing managers that might just have a sort of a core background, a core knowledge of engineering or whatever it might be, purchasing, whatever. But they wanted help in terms of sort of expanding that knowledge out, because motorsport, for example, we unlike many industries, large industries, which motorsport is, there are governance structures. And those governance structures can quite significantly affect the sort of development pathways for an investment pathways. So it's important, I think, that managers and staff understand a little bit about, for example, how the FIA works, how the FIA is structured, because it may be in a year's time, 2 years' time, through a development project, that the rules and regulations might change. So that's unlike a lot of industries. So for managers to understand just how that works, and it's surprising how many don't in the industry. A lot of people don't even know who the FIA are, but educating people about how these governance structures and the sporting activity that they're involved in, and how that's all managed, that's an important part of your base knowledge to be an effective manager. So it does a few different things. It provides that fast track for existing people who are working in the industry to expand their knowledge, of the product, of the product of motorsport that they're working in. But it also allows people who are perhaps not currently in motorsport, but that the industry needs, or those people that aspire to work within the sport, it provides them with an opportunity to learn about the sport, again, in a fast-track way. In a 12-month period, you can learn all about governance, the structures, sponsorship models, how they work, as I said, change management, ethics, for example, a much wider range of knowledge than perhaps it might take you 20 years to pick that up if you just work within the industry.
Yeah, so for example, if you take many of the exhibitors that are here that are involved in high-end engineering, if they were to go and tender for being, I don't know, an ECU supplier or a gearbox supplier to World Touring Cars or World Rally Championship.
Yeah.
They need to know about those FIA procedures and the governance and
Absolutely.
all of that.
Absolutely.
Very different to a conventional business.
Absolutely, and it works both ways. I think the people who are involved in just the sport and maybe competitors, they equally need to know about how sponsorship models work at a high level.
Yeah.
They might aspire through that, but also even at club level to know what it takes commercially to be able to go from that level of the sport up to that level.
Yeah.
And again, those pathways, I think there's a lot more talk now than there probably was even 5 years ago about development pathways in the sport. So I think the commercial pathways are probably just as important, or at least they complement what's happening at a sort of a sporting level.
Yeah, and for student motorsport, it's a big project that you and the team are running, and I think it's driven by a lot of your passion. But clearly, industry asked you for something. So, what is it that industry asked you for?
Without talking about itself too much, it stems from my experience as a student and as an experience in working in the industry, and of course teaching motorsport for the best part of 10 years. And whilst we're not trying to throw anyone under the bus, the industry is requiring students that are work ready, and I've said it before, they need to, and in order to have that, they need to be exposed to the industry. And whilst they may learn all about the different subjects in motorsport, automotive technologies, a lot of them aren't being exposed to actual motorsport at the track. And whether it be club racing or whether it be FIA, higher Formula 3 or otherwise, the science is the same. They need to understand, from whether it's polite or otherwise, who's controlling the industry, how the industry works, how the industry is formed, and what functions take place. And that is not simply, as I say it, four wheels and a spanner. There's a lot that makes up the industry, and we need to widen the gaze, to keep the industry as strong as it is. We need to be teaching about those broader range subjects, such as business, such as sponsorship, such as hospitality and so forth, and bringing it back to the challenge. They have an exposure to all of those things because they are forming a business and a race team and running that as an extracurricular activity to their studies.
Yeah, and in addition to your courses, there's many universities, many of them exhibiting here, ranging from Cranfield to University of Bolton, University of Wolverhampton, all doing engineering courses. Andrew, you've specifically got a business course, but do you think there's more that the industry could do, if you look at, for example, the role of the Motorsport Industry Association, to actually highlight the educational opportunities in that pathway? What would you recommend as the path forward for the industry to actually promote the educational opportunities?
I think there's always more you can do. I mean, we can never sit back on our laurels. I mean, it's a successful British industry. Let's be honest. We still do lead the world in terms of the number of companies, the number of the expertise that's here in the UK. Our course is global, so but inevitably, because we're based here in the UK, we have probably 40-50% of our students enrolled are UK based, which is great. But I think the more links we can create with industry, and some of the same materials that we're using for the masters are available to satisfy industry needs. So students can take one particular module. They can choose that module if they're particularly wishing to learn about one aspect of the sport. And we have 8 modules in total, so there's plenty of choice. So I think the industry probably needs to acknowledge that as part of this hip phrase, continual professional development, there are opportunities to grasp hold of these topics and start to develop their let's say senior staff, or the staff that have got aspirations to do more within that business.
Yeah, and on your side, JP, what would you like the industry to do to give them like that elevator speech of how they can use student motorsport?
I think the industry is wising up to supporting what's going on. Otherwise, there wouldn't be organisations like mine that exist. Such as there's other initiatives out there like Forum the Student. There's the initiatives such as Girls on Track. There's the Green Power Education Trust and Shell Eco Marathon. There are competitions that serve the industry in order to teach students about the different pathways that you can go through. But what I think people don't realise is how little or how many educators out there teach motorsport. Okay, so typically it peaks and troughs each year, and you see around 15 to 20 universities that have automotive technologies or motorsport in the title, and they're teaching that. You'll see around 30 colleges that teach motorsport. Are people aware of that? I think the industry could point to who is teaching motorsport, because they're the ambassadors of the sport. Now, the tutors that teach all week and then go motor racing at the weekend, whether it be in our championship or whether it's in a sprint series or a motocross or whatever it might be, karting that we're involved in, it's those people that need support. Now, whether that's to simply highlight the things they're teaching or to highlight what they're doing from an extracurricular point of view, I think just a general raising of awareness, whether that's on a website or so forth, would be helpful to show just who's creating the next generation of motorsport professionals, business, automotive, mechanical, design, or whatever it is. Now, Motorsport UK is obviously doing a lot to support the industry through some of the initiatives that they're running. They're doing an educational roadmap. They're looking at FIA goals on track from not just a driver's perspective, but otherwise. So things are happening, and I think the more companies like ours and the more educational institutions that put on degrees and initiatives to teach the next generation and the people that are going to be running the industry, the better. If we want to remain a leader in British in motorsport as Britain, we've got to do much of the same and continue to do that.
And if you name check some of the colleges and universities that are part of yours, I mean, first of all, how many have you got on board now? And well, where did you start from, and how many are on board now?
Well, if you can imagine, we started the Student Motorsport Challenge in 2021, really, and of course COVID scuppered our plans, and we moved to a 2022 inaugural series. But we managed to technically sign up 10 colleges and universities, which was made up of 7 that made it to the track, 2 university-led teams, 5 colleges that built race cars from donor vehicles. You can see one of the cars here today. It's a competition prize. We're looking at doubling the grid for next year, and we're seeing around the same amount already that's signed up again for next year. But we're also seeing the introduction of sixth form colleges, and not just FE colleges and universities. So it's people that are doing A levels and STEM-based subjects that are seeing the benefit from what we're doing. So that's incredible.
Yeah. And if you were to look at student motorsport in the 2025 championship, and what's your ambition?
Should I leak this information, Patrick, the commercial director? Start there. We realise that the industry's changing, and we talk about electric. Absolutely. So whilst we're going to run a petroleum-based series for the next few years, which we will probably turn into a sustainable fuel series, we want to introduce an electric racing series and a conversion of the current model from the car, the petrol to the electric. So it's not an electric car that we're starting with. It'll be an electric converted vehicle on the same package that we run now. So there's developments coming. 2025 would be 2 or 3 different championships that serves a broad range of education. Yeah.
And again, if we were to look for the long term on National Motorsports Academy Business of Motorsport Masters, how would you measure success? I mean, it's a relatively new course, but if you were to say, if you were to audit this in 2025, what would success look like for you, Andrew?
Well, I think we are being successful in that I think we've got upwards of 40 students already sort of enrolled, and which, for the beginning of year 3, it's great. So that's probably exceeded our expectations, because all of these programs are sort of organic in the way that they grow and develop and are marketed to people. So that's good, but I think the ultimate measure is how many people end up working and fulfill their dreams of working within the industry, and we're keeping a very close monitor on that. We keep in contact with all the students that have already graduated, and we're helping them. We have a sort of jobs board and activity, so that we're helping them to make those connections. And ultimately, as I say, the first year that we had when we was teaching face-to-face, a bit different, 100% record of getting people into a job. That's great, and that's the sort of aspiration that we have, is to make sure that we convert people's dreams when they're doing these courses into reality of actually working and contributing towards the growth of the industry.
Yeah, I mean, it's brilliant to hear. We've got two, as we bring this to a close, there's two very different organisations here. You know, one focusing on formal education, one supporting students already in the sport. Already in the sector. But in both of them, you've got some commonality there. That what I can see is that you're building talent, you're building experience, giving them practical experience, and helping motorsport in the future develop.
Yep.
I'm going to ask. We've got a few people here. Are there any questions about the future of the academic sector, and anyone in the audience that's looking for a career in motorsport that would appreciate advice from two experts here? No questions, but I'll have one final question to both of you. But if you look at a show like this and the type of businesses like this, what do you feel we could do as show organisers to help you get more corporate support in order to promote your education pathway?
I'll go first then. Thank you very much.
Chance to think about it.
If you're not first. Not a plug, but we are actually going to be working with Autosport Show and Motorsport Days Live, and we have a meeting later this afternoon with them, which I'm proud to announce, in order that we can curate and support an education-based area for the show. Over the years that I've been coming to Autosport as a student, as a promoter when I taught at college, and as a business now, I'd like to see activities taking place for education, tangible things that students can go away with, a roadmap of things that they need to do in order to make their career kickstart right from the offset. I think the show is very welcoming to education and having people come to promote themselves from here. I think we need to look at the cost basis and time elements of what it's like to promote from a show like this. We see difficulties in students and colleges having time to teach courses, never mind come to things like this. So I think there's work to be done, but I think it's going in the right direction. We still see universities promoting themselves today. I think there's a place for an education area in the show, and watch this space.
Yeah, that'd be good to see. Well, Andrew, the NMA National Motorsport Academy are already exhibiting here.
Yeah.
But what's the message? How can a show like this work well for you?
Well, I think, congratulations are already due, because I've been coming to this show for 20 years, and education's always played, certainly in the first 2 days, it's played a very important role. So I think it's just a question of doing more of the same. And from the course that I'm working with, I think the opportunity there is that there are. I think you mentioned there's probably 15 to 20 academic institutions who are already providing successfully providing engineering-based degrees and diplomas and things. But if you look at the industry, I haven't got the figures, but I would guess that at least half the people who are associated with the motorsport industry either full-time employed or peripherally employed with agencies. That's probably 30,000 people who have some kind of direct employment in non-engineering disciplines. So that's where the opportunity lies. I think we need to keep pushing, activities that the NMA, for example, are producing, so that we do create this talent pool of people who are, able to draw on a wider base of skills, which ultimately are going to benefit the business and the sport.
I think quickly, if you quickly look around the show, today, you'll see that actually just how many different organisations and types of organisations and sizes of organisations prop up the motorsport industry and support it. And again, it's about the degree, highlighting those differences, finance or otherwise, management, and it's about the challenge, highlighting that it's not just building and preparing and repairing a car. So I think we're both doing great jobs. I think the show's doing a great job, and again, congratulations to what they're doing. But look out next year for later this year at Motorsport Days, and look at 2024 for a lot of educators being here. with activities taking place, our own little stage and things like that. I think you'll be impressed what you see.
Yeah. Well, JP, Andrew, thank you for your
Thank
time
you.
today.
Pleasure.
Thank you for sharing your expertise with the team.